I went to the pursuit of the truth, using a different phone, so I hope the audio quality is as good. Unfortunately, the twins have the phones, so I've had to use this old S7. It's Earth Day, so I thought I'd record a pursuit of the truth, because, well, I don't know really what it's about, but I assume it's about the Earth, and what's more important about the Earth than the human beings upon it, and what they do and how they interact with each other. And if you ever listen to my pursuit of truths, if this is the first time you're listening to them, hopefully this tag Earth Day will get it across to many people. Then there's 600 you can listen to that talks about earthlings and Earth and our system and how we all live and interact with each other and why we should change the way that we live, because it doesn't actually benefit the majority of us. It only benefits those who are good at obtaining money. And of course, the problem with obtaining money and putting a price tag, as Jesse James stole from my poem, on things is that it. Well, she didn't really. I'm sure they didn't even hear mine, but the problem with putting a price tag on things is then that restricts us, and people die and people starve, and all the things that happen on the earth today that have happened for God knows how long are still happening because of the way we live. Until we get rid of a price tag on things, or at least the essential things like housing, medical, and healthcare and things like that, then we're going to be having the same problems. People striking, people not doing the job that they should be doing, that I've been mentioning in the previous ones, to do with disability. You know, we see about care homes, we see in schools and hospitals, in all sorts of environments where the wrong people are doing the jobs because unfortunately they have to make a living and it's the only thing they can do, even if they're not good at it or don't like it. And therefore, obviously, the people are going to suffer because of the system that we live in, this way we live in, is human beings, those who are dependent on those people. But it wasn't really what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about two things. One was Channel 4's, oh God, no, I've forgotten what it's called now, something in the dark. I'm scared of the dark, about Chris McCausland. It was really interesting, him, because he's a blind comedian and he was helping everyone out. I'm surprised he didn't win and Gaza won in the end, but I guess it's because he coped with the situation. But I just felt that it felt, me watching that, it felt difficult in the sense that, well, how everyone was relieved at the end, you know, because they could see, because the lights were turned back on. But of course, for Chris, it didn't make any difference because he was still in the dark, and it felt like a bit bad that they were all cheering and screaming and happy about it. I know he wouldn't have a problem with that, but just they were a bit insensitive to the blind man in the room who'd been helping them all this journey and still didn't win. And yeah, his disability, and that's what I wanted to talk about, is this is the key thing with disability, that everyone thinks is disabling, but yet in certain environments that disability becomes an ability. And that's the way that, I don't like the word to be honest with you, but and that's like within the pursuits of truth I've been recording previously about disability and autism and all that kind of stuff at schools, and the difficulties I'm finding in my first journey with this, is how limiting people are to those who have disabilities and are not striving and putting them forward like the way that schools are. They haven't really changed their environment enough to encompass disability, in changing in the curriculum, changing in the way, you know, we know that schools were designed by neurotypicals and for neurotypicals primarily, you know, the class of 30 people, one or two teachers, one teacher, a teaching assistant, that kind of thing. But it doesn't work for neurodivergents, it doesn't work for disabled people. So they should already have had classrooms that are specific in mainstream schools for smaller a room for maybe the autistic children, or for a disabled child that needs more care. That, like the way that they do in special schools, you know, they already have worked it out. They already know that they need to do this. So why have they not done it in mainstream schools as well? So that therefore all children can attend mainstream school, because there aren't enough special schools and they can all benefit and not lose out. And so it was interesting seeing, Chris, how it amplified that just because he had a disability didn't mean that he couldn't do loads of things, and didn't show that in certain environments he actually did better than those with ability, so-called ability. So that's why I don't like the word, because disability, it suggests that you don't have an ability. Of course you do have abilities, you just have, there's certain abilities you're not maybe so good at, so that's why I don't like that word, because it seems limiting, whereas it's not really, it's just one or two things that may be different from you than so-called able-bodied persons. So yeah, it was really interesting, that program. If you haven't seen it, give it a watch, because it just was quite heartwarming to see how he felt, how he was able to help people, and how it gave him that good feeling to be able to help people, and then he did. And just at the end, feeling for him that, unfortunately he has to live that life always. And it made you maybe much more aware of my granddad. He went blind. How difficult it must be for people to live that life, and how lucky we all are. And also the fact that because we're lucky and we have all these things, that we should be making the world better for all those people that don't have these things. And we see in that report and the last Pursuit of Truth about what's happening in care homes to disabled children. It shows that the people who are not disabled, the people with ability, are abusing them and doing all sorts. I'm not saying everyone, but it just goes to show you that we're all stewards of this place that we found ourselves upon, Earth Day, and we have a responsibility to each other. And not that doesn't just mean in our little borders that we've made for ourselves, the circle of the land, and we've carved that up, or our families or whatever by surname. We all have a duty to each other as human beings, because we're all human beings, no matter the system that's cut us all up and divided us from each other. Okay, that was that point. Now, what was the second one? There was another thing I wanted to talk about. What was it now? Oh yeah, I got sad yesterday when I was coming upstairs. Aidan and Alina, they were at school, and I saw Aidan's Huggy Wuggy from Poppy Playtime. And, I put on this voice, and it's Huggy here. He doesn't sound like that in Poppy Playtime. And Aidan will do that voice. Actually, he was the one who started that voice, and I just mimicked him. And I was thinking, as I'm standing now in the same room looking at it, I felt really sad, because I was thinking about, I don't know why I always think about these things. I don't know if anyone else does. The loss. I don't know if it's to do with my childhood or how I've experienced life, but I was looking at it and thinking about how, me as a grown adult is putting this voice on, him as a child is doing it, and he's going to grow up and then one day move out, and I'll come and see that Huggy Wuggy, and I'll think of this time that I'm thinking of now, when we used to make up voices and talk to each other through it, and he won't be doing it anymore, but me as the older adult had already done it, because I was always an older adult, and he won't be doing it anymore, and just feeling that loss of that time that won't be there anymore. And so I don't know, I felt this many times throughout their journey, from when they were little babies, that they wouldn't be the same again, and now that they're talking, thinking that as we play these little games and we say these little things, that's going to be taken away. Maybe it's to do with my friends as a kid, and when they left me and things like that, and that's the feeling that I'm feeling, knowing that it's going to happen, and that I will also have to, he's going to grow up and not do these things. And it was just, I don't know, it just made me feel sad that I know I write a lot of poems about death and about time and things, and I don't know why I feel these things, this empathy with losing, whether it's losing life or losing the time, when I think about my friends, and when like Jason or Sylvester, when they went away, and never getting that time again, and now having that same feeling with my own children, that they will grow up and one day move out, and I'll look at their toys and think about this moment, I wish they were like this, playing with me, love. It's such a magical thing to have children and to have these moments, especially these early years when they're so loving. And maybe I'm also thinking, why can't human beings keep hold of that love, keep hold of that spirit? Anyway, that's the things I want to talk about. Happy Earth Day, if that's what you say. Take care, take it easy. God bless and peace.